And welcome to our second speaker build, and this one's going into a really tiny space. This is my mom's entertainment cabinet. She's really fond of it, and no, you cannot get her to upgrade it or replace it. This is where the speakers have to go. What's the problem? Glad you asked. 7¼ inches, that's all I have to work with. That's it, and that's from the baseboard to the edge of that thing. I poked around the internet to see what I could find, and the only thing that I could really source that would fit in that spot are those bundled THX speakers with those little thin floor stand-ins that really don't work well as standalones anyway. And besides, any other manufacturers that do make floor standing speakers that can fit in 7¼ inch, you gotta remember, it's 7¼ inches max, which means any box going in that spot has to be about 7 inches, because you need wiggle room to be able to slide it in and out without completely scraping the paint. So I knew 7 inches was gonna be the maximum width. Now, since I wanted to get a largest possible driver to go in that space, I already knew 6½ was the biggest I can get. So I went shopping to find the best 6½ inch that will give me the best bang for the buck for that space. So after some poking around, I found a speaker that I liked. Now it's not quite 6½, but it's 6 inches. So why do I like it? Well, first thing I like about it is the price. The price is beautiful. I love that price tag. Of course you can get cheaper, but cheaper don't mean better. You guys should know this by now. What I like about it is this. The frequency response is beautiful. That's a wide range, so it plays a lot of low, which is great, and it can sing quite a bit in the higher notes, which is wonderful, because you don't want the woofer to be too low on the frequency range, because it's going to be more subwoofery, more bassy, which is all fine and dandy, but I want this to sing as well. So the fact that it goes up in the 8,000, awesome, absolutely awesome. Now, the other thing about this that I smiled ear to ear was the total outer dimension of 7 inches, the exact width I've already decided my box is going to have to be. So for the first time in my existence, I'm going to build a box that's going to have the speaker sitting edge to edge on the front. Insane. I'm getting excited about this build. So I'm going to build a box, right? And I'm not too worried about the tweeter. As a matter of fact, I'm not worried about it at all, because the entire volume enclosure is about the woofer. It's about making the woofer sound the best that it can be. And the tweeter has nothing to do with that, because the tweeter is in its own enclosed space. It requires next to nothing. You can put it on a desk, or you can put it in a box. It doesn't care. It's going to produce the same sound. So it's the enclosure is all about the woofer. So now that I have the woofer, I can start thinking about my enclosure. Now, the recommended specs for this one for vented, because I know I'm going to vent it, is 0.75 cubic feet. To verify that, I kind of go up and I check the VAS, which is what I've told you in my other build. That's where I go to when I want to get, and it's right in line. So 0.77 versus 0.75. Awesome. Knowing that information, I started looking around for inspiration. And the first inspiration, I didn't have to look very far, because I like these speakers. I like that rounded top. I just like the look of the poke. No, I'm not going to try and make this. You know how technical this is to make. But I like that rounded off top. And I just kind of look at the dimensions, and gave me a pretty good idea of what my dimensions are going to be. So I go to my Omni calculator, and I tried their numbers first, and I didn't really care for it, because I knew my width was going to be 7. Now the depth I had some wiggle room with, so let's start there. Obviously we're going to be doing 0.75 3/4 inch MDF, and when I look down, ooh, that number is that number is way too big. Remember, I told you, when you want to do these speaker builds, you want to make sure that it's 1.5. You multiply the vented enclosure or the volume enclosure recommendation by 1.5. If you have two of the same woofers in the box, this is my math, this is worked out for me. Multiply it by 1.5. Now that will give you this number. Wait, what am I looking at? There it is. This number, which is in that zone, but in my personal experience, I found that to be too big, and you get that little baffly sound when you start driving the speakers. You get this distortion, baffled distortion. I think it's just too much volume, and it creates that, and I've found that to be the case. So I don't quite go that high. So for me, this is already too high. Even though I plan to take some of it out, it's still too high. So the one thing I can easily sacrifice is the height. So I went down to 40, and much nicer number. I can work with that number. That number is delicious. Okay. Also, I'm going to take some space off because I'm probably going to enclose that driver that I was looking at earlier, so that works out even better. So this number is awesome. I like these numbers, so there is my build. I told you I'm not going to do any fancy 3D stuff. I can, but let's keep it simple. I go to photop.com, which is a free Photoshop knockoff. I just grab the line tool and the rectangle tool and just stay click, 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 and look at that, I'm done. So that's the idea I'm targeting. Nice. 40, 12, and 7. Nothing complicated. Everything else after that, Omnibox can give you, because if you take a look further down, it starts giving you numbers to cut. These are your spaces. These are the pieces for you to cut. So it's helping you out even more than just giving you volume information. So if you scroll down, it tells you to cut the side panels at 38.5, your front and rear 5.5, yada 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 yada, all the way down. So you can go off of these dimensions, which is great because it's not like they're steering your way. It's literally taking these numbers that you just input and telling you what to cut them based on the size of the board that you told it. So there are my dimensions. So I don't have to do any calculations. However, I know that I'm going to be maximum 7 on the front. The way how I build my boxes, I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to keep my rear at 40, and I'm going to move 2 things around. But for the most part, everything else is spot on. Now, if you choose to go this route, it will work just fine. Okay, I just want to do my build slightly different. So I already have my box. I already have my design that I'm targeting. I already have my speaker. I think I'm ready to go. Oh yeah, one other thing. I've already learned this lesson since I'm editing this video ahead of time, but this is the driver I chose to be my top. Why? Well, take a journey with me. I looked at the frequency response, and OMG, this thing goes all the way down to 80 and as high as 20,000. Really? This thing can hit 20 kilohertz. Shocked the life out of me. I was looking at it going, then I thought about it. This looks like a bullet tweeter built in. That's what I thought. It was a bullet tweeter built in. Yeah. We discovered that later on. But when I saw this, that's what I looked at. I was like, wow, this thing is a tweeter and a driver. It's full range. It's going to give me everything. Now this 4 ohm is going to be a little ticklish, but that's okay. I'll work with it. I'll work with it because I'll just put my 2 in parallel, and there'll be 4, and everybody will be great. Okay. And since it's going to be this guy, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to put a 47 microfarad capacitor on this and call it a day. It's going to be great. That's what I thought. Yeah, I learned later on that was a bad idea. Well, but let's not skip ahead. Let's get to the build. I had Lowe's cut the MDF in half just for maneuvering sake, just to make things easier to, because as you can clearly see, I'm working by myself. I'm always working by myself, so you know, I have a truck, I could easily transport a full sheet of MDF, but it's just too much to maneuver by myself, and it's not necessary, so they'll cut it for free, so why not? And yeah, I keep forgetting to turn on this vacuum. Even though you're outdoors, yeah, you definitely want to keep the vacuum going, get some of that MDF dust away from you. Now, this wasn't in the comment, was not in any of the comments, but someone did say to me that, I probably should shorten these videos and do less detail and just go to the summary. So if that's something you guys would rather see, me just go straight to the summary and not so much of this cutting and all the additional pieces, just let me know, because I can definitely shorten that and just go general design, and then maybe 2 or 3 pieces and then show the full build later on, instead of me going through the entire pieces. Now, I don't mind because the camera's rolling anyway, but if that's what you guys, well, I clearly could have cut that shot out. That was definitely not needed, but it's there. But for real though, if you guys would rather just me do snippets of cut this, cut that, or show shorter highlighted sections, then let me know and I'll definitely adjust in the future. I really didn't have to use a miter for this, I just wanted to because it was there. And of course I checked for a square, made a minor adjustment there because that one was ever so slightly off, but this one was spot on. Yeah, I really didn't need to because I could have continued just using the blade, but I wanted to. This was completely unnecessary. That whole thing about the Bosch measurement being off just had me going. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna measure it using just the ruler just to see, because I had extra wood, so if I messed up, I'll be good. Thankfully I didn't need to because it was spot on. Could I have just gotten my compass and just drew some circles and be done? Sure. Do I like using the speaker because I want to physically see it? Absolutely. Same reason why I eyeball a cut before I make it, even though the tape measure was perfect. Bad habits. So this is one of those moments where I'm looking at the speaker when it was out and it caught my attention. I was like, I wasn't even paying attention when I purchased it. This thing is 2/16 of an inch thick. Right on 2/16 of an inch thick. And the same thing for the full range tweeter driver thingy. It's only 2/16 of an inch thick. And it got me thinking, do I need to recess them? They're only 2/16 of an inch. I went back and checked on the website and they were advertising that you don't need to recess because they're so thin, and I'm like, do I need to? I know exactly where these are going to go. They're going to get stuck into a corner and they'll never be seen that way, and they're never going to see the edge of them anyway, so do I need to? I kind of wrestled with that for a little bit before I decided on it, so let's keep this build going. Now, like I said earlier, I didn't follow the Omni calculator because I assembled differently the way I do it, and so I kept the back and the front at the same dimension so that I could do it this way, but that's just me. You don't have to do it this way, but that's just me. this is another one of those eyeball things. I could just easily broke out the tape measure and just measure the distance, but I just like seeing it. I just like seeing it. I can't help it. Just again, old habits. I just like seeing it, knowing that it's going to be there when I'm done. It's my thing. It's a thing. And just like it clearly says on the screen, I chose not to recess. I mean, it's really only 2/16 of an inch. I mean, it's a tiny bit out, so it's not really necessary. Of course, you know, depends on who it is, and you know, you may have a client that requested, but for me, I know where this is going, and trust me, the person who's getting this really don't care. Trust me, they don't. Contrary to the last build I did when I just free-handed it with the saw, I chose to do it properly this time. So I used my punch, then I pre-drilled, then I went for the big saw like I was supposed to. And literally the only reason I did that was just because it's a video and I don't want to be showing you guys, you know, my bad habits all the time. Yeah, definitely don't touch the drill when it's been cutting, because you don't know how hot those things get, because it's literally friction, and you can see sometimes it has burn marks in it because that's heat. Okay, so you know, save yourself the pain. Don't touch this if you don't have to, at least not without gloves. Okay. Couldn't help myself. I just couldn't help myself. I just had to do a test fit just to see how it looks. But I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm just going to do one here, then one there, just so you can see the fit. Now it's time for that sanding. The only time I go lower grit sandpaper is when the wood is rough or I have some bad cuts that need to be flattened down. But otherwise, 220, you know, something like that, that 200 neighborhood does plenty. It's rough enough to take away pieces, but smooth enough to you know, keep things, you know, nice and clean, so that I don't have to sand too much with the higher grit later on. This was a bit of a goofball moment for me. I completely forgot that I wanted to do a round over, and I was just forging along and forgot. And because the round over bit cuts off so much from the material when it goes over those edges, I didn't want to just leave that thin piece, so I had to put another piece of MDF on the top so that the round over chunks off this and don't touch the other one. And I completely forgot, so yeah, I had the wood extra, so why not? Even though you cut it to the exact length, you gotta check for square, because it will lean in on you and, you know, cause those little imperfections that will cause, you know, the front to wobble or not sit flush and all this fun stuff. So always check for square, make sure everything's lined up. This I've gotten a lot of flack from my own friends and family members, but I stick by it and I won't back off of this. The interior does not have to be pretty. It just needs to be the right volume and size and not to restrict airflow. Okay, so it doesn't have to be all nice and symmetrical and gorgeous and rounded off and all this other fun stuff I see other people doing. It's not necessary. It just needs to be big enough and open enough and strong enough to do its job. Period. I'm not going to back off of that one. Of course, I'm going to test fit it. Now, just like everything else, you got to make sure it's square. When I put the glue on here, I goofed. I should have angled it in when I put it in. You know, you'll see what's going to happen. Slide it in there and all the glue came off. That was a complete waste of time. I should have put it in, then kind of snapped it in, because nothing else was screwed down, so the edge sides of the box was flexible enough to do that, but I didn't. But that's okay, because I'm gonna brad nail it anyway, so it's all good. It's one of those moments I start looking at this box and I'm wondering, do I need that third brace? It's 3/4 inch MDF. It's pretty thick and it's pretty sturdy. I don't think so. So I chose not to. Got a lot done today, so I think I'm gonna call it quits. Yep, and just like that, day one's done. Time to get some rest. I knew I was going to be doing a lot of work that's going to require me to either bend down on the floor, so I broke out my table here so I could start. Now I didn't realize how tired I was last night, and I did this stupid mess. I just poured some glue in here thinking it would just be good enough for a sealer. That was a jackass move. So yeah, let's fix that. Let's totally fix that. I don't even know what I was thinking, honestly, because I know better. I honestly know better. I don't know what I was thinking. That was such an idiotic thing to do. Never work on anything when you're tired or frustrated. You make stupid mistakes like I did pouring glue in that edge. That was just such a dumb thing to do. Here's something I've gotten a lot of questions on as well. Yes, it is a mattress topper. Yes, it works. Its job is to absorb some of that vibration and reduce some of the reflections and the sound inside the enclosure, and it does that beautifully. I've seen people use all kinds of weird materials. Now you can spend money and buy professional sound deadening material, and it's going to set you back a pretty penny because some of them are really expensive. But in all honesty, this is fine. You can use just a regular sponge. I just found that this one was cheap. It was really cheap. I'm gonna put the price on the screen, and I use regular Gorilla Glue. You could use any other kind of spray adhesive as well. I just like it because it's convenient. I can get in there and angle it wherever I want to. Don't have to worry about anything else. You can spray the foam, or you can spray the enclosure. I do both sometimes, or depend on the application. But yeah, that foam works. It works. That mattress topper works in place of the foam. That's what I meant to say. That mattress topper works. It gets a job done. You don't have to be fancy about it either. Okay? Now, the other question I get is, do you have to cover up every single micro inch? Well, you want to cover as much as possible because the idea is to absorb those reflections and such. But if you have one or two spots that didn't get covered, you're fine. Okay? You're fine. You get as much of it done as possible, but if you miss a spot here or there, it's totally okay. Now just drilling the hole that will run the wire from the full range tweeter driver down to the main enclosure where I can put everything together in one spot. Just me prepping for later on. And while I have the drill out, let's go ahead and get these holes for this terminal post, which I love. They're cheap and they're easy to install, and I just love these things. I have a bunch of them. I keep a bunch of them handy at all times. I don't know why I don't like. It's not like I'm building a speaker every week or something, but I just keep them around. Use a little piece that comes with it to mark the hole, drill the 2 holes, and stick it in there. It's just that simple. They look good. They fit all the standard banana plugs, and they're easy to mount. They come with, like, I think 6 nuts and I think 6 washers and 6 lock washers. I mean, it gives you plenty for the price tag. It's super cheap, and it gives you so much. And like I said, they look the part. I like them. Yes, this is where I'm going to put the mount, and yes, that's 3 1/4 inch piece that I'm using to dig out there. The last cheat that I'm referring to is the port itself. No, I didn't buy some expensive $50 port. I'm outside getting some work done and heard my neighbor coming across. I didn't ask his permission to put his face on YouTube, so that's why the bar's up there to block his face away. But we had a good little chit chat, guys catching up, talking, trash, drinking special water. Yeah, let's call it that. And just, having guy time. But while he was there shooting the breeze, I just kept working, put the fronts on since everything else was basically cut. The holes were cut, mounting post cut, the port holes are cut, the holes drilled for the top piece already cut. So Let me just go ahead and throw some brad nails in this bad boy to hold her down. I honestly don't know what happened. I thought the thing was recording, but I guess not. So I had just enough to cut off the last piece of the back that I kind of missed. But you can look at my truck and see there was a whole lot of cutting happening earlier. But I don't know what happened. I must have goofed on something. This is why I put that piece at the top, because when you use this much of a round over, it cuts into the wood a good bit, and there's only a small piece that will be left for structure. With this piece on the top, it's purely decorative. It's no structural support is required for this, so you know, I could round it over more if I wanted to, but I think this is just the right amount, so it's great. As for that little crack in front, I know big whoop-de-doo, because wallpaper is going to go over that anyway, so I'm good. For the few areas that do require this bit, I still go back to this Zara patch. I used it the last time and I love this thing. I bought a few more and it works great. It's thin, it gets in those little creases, and it dries really hard and it sands really well. Now all this sanding is because I've decided to make a go at painting the front. I have wallpaper ready to put on it, but I'm gonna make a go at it. I'm gonna see if I can paint it so it looks apart, because the part that I'm concerned about is the top piece that I put on. It's hard to get MDF sanded and painted so that the sides where the board is different tends to stick out, and it soaks up paint. And especially since I'm using spray paint here, you know, I said I'm gonna give it a try, and if it doesn't work out, then I'll just put the sandpaper on. But I'm that guy. Once I start down a road, I'm just gonna keep going and see how far I get with it. Yeah, this was a terrifying moment. All of a sudden, the mist from the paint started shifting towards my truck, and it didn't look like it was slowing down, so I had to go over there real quick. But while I was over there, I kind of sprayed some water on it, just, you know, paranoia kind of thing. Yeah, just in case something does make it, you know, water will kind of help that out. And this paint is terrible. Both cans started leaking. My hands were white at the end of the evening from paint that has leaked out through the trigger. Ridiculous. And the sanding never ends. If you want your paint job to look good, you're going to do a whole lot of sanding. A whole lot of sanding. And you're going to go through some sanding pads. Okay? If you find that you're sanding and it's not getting done, check your pad and make sure that it doesn't look like this. And if it does, take it off. You won't get any work done if it looks like that. These little buggers have been buzzing around me for the last day, and I've had it. So I got my little bug assault gun and I went to shooting. It shoots like little packets of salt in this compressed air thing. This is way too much fun. I go hunting flies in the house some nights. I'm an idle child. I'm just a big kid. So I grew a brain and just used the speaker pieces that were cut out earlier to stop the fumes from getting in. But as I started spraying, I looked over and realized the wind is like it's not gonna work with me today, so it started blowing towards the truck again. So yeah, I made a move. Maybe not my best move, because I'm now close to the vegetable gardens and all kinds of bugs and critters fly around vegetables and plants. So it was either that or get paint on the truck. So yeah, I decided to deal with it. But all honesty, it was still ugly. So I had to break out the kills, and I probably should have done this from the beginning, because kills is serious, but I just wanted to give it a shot. And like I said, I was committed to it, so I said let me see how far I can get with spray paint, but it just wasn't doing it. So I resorted back to good old paintbrush and the kills, and yeah, I regretted that. I should have started with this from the beginning, because that had been done already. Yeah, day 3, going into sanding and painting. My 3rd day of sanding and painting, because I didn't start with using the kills and just going with paintbrush. You live, you learn, right? The kills did its job. So here I am going into that final spray, which, realistically speaking, I have wallpaper just in case, but I'm already committed to making sure this spray paint thing works, so I'm going for broke. So let's hope it all works out great. The paint looks pretty good. So here I am now about to put that first wallpaper around the sides. This is the brand. It was also pretty cheap. Most of these wallpapers are usually cheap anyway, but this is that time where I gotta start throwing those warnings. Slow down, take your time, cut it, measure, cut it, measure some more, cut it, and when you're applying it, start in one corner, line everything up, and go slow. It's really tempting that you're this close to the end of the bill, like everything's there, you can just don't do that. Okay, this is the time people make mistakes. This is the time people rush, and what could have been beautiful now looks all janky. Slow down. See me taking my time? You know how long it took me to do this? Okay, I'm about to speed through it, and you're going to see just how long, because I didn't cut it. I let it go all the way through. This took a while to do because I wanted to make sure that it got done right. Slow down, peoples. Slow down. Right here is the real danger. When you get ready to be done, this is where people really speed up and just grab it and snatch it. Don't do that. And just as much here as well, when you get your knife, go gentle, okay? Just be gentle with the knife. If you have a clean, sharp blade, it will do all the work for you. Just let the blade do the work. Just pull ever so gently and angle it so that the blade is not digging into there. Just let it ride and it will cut just fine. Sure, you're going to have little overlaps here and there, some pieces where your hand kind of maybe a little wobble. Just take your time, just like I'm doing, and just smooth, nice and easy, slide and glide. That's all you're trying to do here. Everything's coming together. Got the porthole, running the wires for the tweeter / full range driver. Got my terminal post. I'm gonna do the red and the blue since I don't have red and black. Make it all nice and pretty. I'm using 47 microfarad capacitor on that one because it's a full range driver. I don't need to do anything extra to it. It's full range. It's 80 all the way through 20,000. Well, that's what I thought. Yeah. I always do a kind of twist before I solder, and I put a piece of paper down so just in case the solder drops down, it doesn't go into the speaker, it just gets caught on the paper. I just prefer soldering over, those clip-on connections. Nothing wrong with them, I just prefer soldering. Now, since I'm doing this thing in parallel, I just took advantage that the speaker had 2 sets of binding posts and just run the second one over to the other speaker. this is a really snug fit, but I'm happy that it's that tight. It makes a great seal. Here we go. Everything's done. It's all buttoned up. It's time for that test run. Let's see what it looks like and let's see what it sounds like. My soul. I can't believe I fell for that one. I should know better. 20,000 hertz is what it can handle, not what it can produce. I don't know why I thought that thing was a bullet tweeter, and it clearly is not, because it's oh my goodness, sonically offensive. I'm gonna have to make a pilgrimage to Melody Mountain to appease the gods of music, because I know I just offended their ears. 20,000 hertz. I can't believe it could produce that. What was I thinking? I'm gonna need a plan B. I'm gonna need some gear, a crossover, something. Oh my god, I need a minute to recover from that. I found these lovelies on Amazon for 30 bucks for two. I mean, I could have gotten cheaper, but at this point, I'm not taking chances. I also found this Goldwood tweeter. It fills the bill. Also cheaper ones, but I'm not taking any chances. Now that goodies are here, let's show you what's under the hood and what I've done. Let's take a look. First change, and that's a big one. We have a full crossover in here, not the 47 microfarad crossover. That's the first big change. It's still in parallel, so 4. This is an 8 ohm, but I've measured it and it gave me 6, so I think I'm okay, because the crossover is 4 or 8. I'm gonna have it on 4 and see how it behaves. But this is the other big change. This is a tweeter that I just got off of Amazon. It's a Goldwood. It was a royal pain to set up. I didn't record it, but I'll show you what I did on the other one. Whoever at Goldwood came up with design should be fired. This thing is flimsy and it prevents it from going inside of the hole, so I had to break it off and resaw the connection and hot glue a piece of wire. I basically had to ghetto rig it because it wouldn't fit in the hole properly. Whoever did this at Goldwood need to be fired. That's a stupid decision. That's monumentally stupid decision. I saw some comments about it, but I didn't realize it was this stupid. Phenomenally stupid. Anyway, so I had to modify it so that it could fit. I haven't screwed it in yet because I haven't tested it yet, so I'm about to do that next. Alright, so what I have here, these two wires are connected to the bottom of my thing in a rather creative setup. So, turn this bad boy all the way around. Negative that one, and positive to this one with the, and it's 3.8, 4 ohm. Not bad. It's a 4 ohm load. Nice. I can work with that. And what I do next is I take a battery, yeah, and check polarity. Make sure all speakers are making sounds. Okay, and I have sound from everybody. So good deal. Oh, what a difference. Magnificent. That cheap crossover and that cheap Goldwood tweeter made such a difference. I guess it really is a silk touch because it is silky smooth on the top end. Yeah, I was initially frustrated by that cheap terminal that I had to jerry rig, but now that I hear it, oh, it's worth it. Oh, what a difference. The balance, the smoothness. And now that it's balanced, I can truly appreciate those hifi speakers because they are punching way above their weight class. Oh my goodness, the bass, the sound, oh, now I'm loving it. Alright, let's do a cost breakdown, shall we? Let's start at the top with the most expensive. The woofers are going to come in at $128, $46 for the tweeters, and $50 for the wood. Everything else is just the ancillaries that makes this party happen. Now, at a total of $280 for both speakers, that's insanely cheap compared to what they would cost if I were to go buy a factory-made system. And remember, the only thing that I saw factory-made was over 7 inches, and they were over $400 each speaker. So this is already a bargain. But a bargain that sounds awesome, oh, that's a double bargain in my book. So was it worth it? Absolutely. Does it sound amazing? Absolutely. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. So now we're all wrapped up here. I want to say thanks for watching. This is a really long video, longer than I did the others, but the fact that you're here and watching it means you're interested. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more content like this, and I'll do my best to provide. Now, I do have a regular job, so I won't be able to post things here like every 2 or 3 days or like some of these other content creators, but I'll do my best. So thank you for watching. Have yourselves an awesome day.